First of all, more information became available about the devastating Ukrainian strike on the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Today, the conflict intelligence team published leaked photos of the Russian submarine Rostov-na-Donu, and it revealed a lot of additional information. The analysts concluded that the submarine suffered from at least 3 missiles, one of which landed precisely on top of the vessel, inflicting fatal damage. What this means is that, firstly, given that Ukrainians also destroyed the assault landing ship Minsk, there were likely more than 3 missiles that passed through the Russian air defense. And secondly, the missiles proved to be capable of hitting relatively small objects with very high accuracy, which is why Russian analysts once again started raising discussions about the level of protection of the main Crimean bridge that connects it to Russia. So far, from aerial means, Ukrainians have only used several missiles S-200. These are modernized Soviet missiles, which is why Russians managed to intercept them, and the bridge is still standing. However, if Ukrainians decide to use Storm Shadow missiles, the outcome will likely be different. Russians understand this, which is why, as a precaution, every time they detect that Ukrainians are using Su-24M, Russians close the bridge. Some Russian analysts also raised concerns about the leakage of footage. The photos of the damaged submarine were not available in the first days because the submarine has a low profile compared to the assault landing ship Minsk, which is why it could not be seen from the residential houses. Russian military obviously tried to conceal the result of the work, but as it turned out, someone who was present on the site sold these pictures to a Ukrainian intelligence agent. The footage not only allowed to verify the destruction of the target, but also the precision of the strike, opening the door to planning more sophisticated strikes on smaller targets. And Ukrainians continued conducting drone strikes on Crimea. Today local residents reported hearing explosions in the southern part of Sevastopol, near Cape Violent, and near Belbek airfield. Yesterday, explosions were reported once again in Sevastopol and also Feodosia. The head of Ukrainian intelligence Kyrylo Budanov stated that regular drone strikes on Russia and Russian-controlled territories have the following 3 goals. Firstly, Ukrainians are trying to exhaust Russian air defense. And even though Russians do replenish their reserves, constant strikes do not allow Russians to be fully ready, and if there are some logistical problems and bottlenecks in some regions, then the air defense may not have enough rockets during the decisive moment. But the drones obviously are not just launched to be shot down by the air defense, and even if the probability of such an outcome is high, the drones always have a real military target. Ironically, as we have seen several days ago in Sevastopol, sometimes the target of the drones becomes the air defense systems themselves. However, the primary military target of Ukrainian forces right now is Russian aviation. In fact, during the last month, Ukrainians damaged and destroyed so many Russian strategic transport airlifters and bombers that Russians started relocating them and putting tires on the fuselage. The effectiveness of the measures is quite doubtful because the shrapnel from explosions is capable of penetrating metal. However, the new style clearly highlights the increased level of concerns about the losses in aviation. Finally, the third goal of continued drone strikes is the destruction of the infrastructure that is critical for supporting war efforts. One such target today became the huge Russian oil depot in Feodosia. Even in this particular case, the drones were shot down. Some strikes are quite successful, like yesterday's strike on the Russian rocket fuel factory in the Tver region, or last week's strike on the administrative building of the biggest factory of microelectronics, which is indispensable in the contemporary equipment.